racing MX-5 Cup. Bit of smoke and dust in the background there as they turn their way through Redgate Corner for the first time. Oh, there's a couple of cars off. Is one of those possibly Tom Smith, or it might be Mike Comber actually? There's 3 or 4 of them off into the gravel as well, including Declan McDonald.
Yeah, Declan McDonald. It was Mike Comber, wasn't it? Because he's not there. So it was that battle for 4th position, wasn't it? But the top 3 are there, and it's Mike Epps that leads the way. It's Ben Short in 2nd and Steve Foden 3rd. And then that big gap where all those cars came together, Ian.
Yeah, absolutely. So a bit of clearing up to be done up at the top of the circuit, but there is the number 3 car of Mike Epps then, the ex-Formula V Championship runner-up in the lead of the race then. In 2nd place, you have the number 71 car of Ben Short. Right behind him is number 77, Steve Foden, who was denied the championship last year by just 1 point behind last year's winner for the last 2 years, in fact, Ben Hansey. They turn their way out of Cups Corner, and there is that big gap, Josh, isn't it, between 3rd and 4th position?
Indeed, the only car I think that is left in the gravel is Declan McDonald. Now we've got 67 off. That's one of the Abbotts, isn't it? I think David Abbott spun. That's up at Coppice. But just 1 car off at Redgate, so I think we can continue to race. This is the battle for 4th position. I think Marcus Bailey ahead of Tom Smith and Ben Hansey, 2 of the drivers that battled for the championship last year. Down into the Melbourne Loop for the first time though, and it's Epps, Short and Foden getting away in the big battle for 4th, and it's Tom Smith who comes down the inside of Marcus Bailey to grab that position. Ben Hansey follows him to Ben Short Motorsport team cars, and there's about 10 cars in that all in this weekend. You've got Courtney Milnes in there as well. 34 is the Cameron car, isn't it? Ian Cameron there in that battle too. It's absolutely frantic.
It is number 9. Tomlinson is at the back of that group as well as they turn their way out of the Goddard's hairpin onto the start and finish straight, the Wheatcross straight, and head up towards Redgate Corner where that incident was on the opening lap of the race. So Tom Smith then leads the chase. There are still waved yellow flags, as you can see there, heading into Redgate Corner, so there is still some work being done trackside, I would think, to clear 1 or 2 of the stricken cars.
Yeah, it's just Declan McDonald's car, Ian, that's being snatched out of the way. I can just see that from my window.
And the number 96 car has pulled off as well, which was Sam Moody.
Okay,
so here the cars down into the old hairpin then. Big gap from 3rd to 4th, and there's actually a gap opening out between 5th Ben Hansey and 6th, which is Courtney Milnes, who's going very well so far this year. Here are the 2 leaders though.
They're getting away, are they, from Steve Foden by the looks of things. Foden there in 3rd, you'd think might be the first of the full season drivers, because Ben Short tends not to do the full year nowadays, and Mike Epps in as a one-off here today. He makes his way down the exhibition straight down towards the chicane, and Short in the slipstream, but not quite yet close enough to challenge. But very experienced driver in these cars, knows how the races play out somewhat better than Mike Epps, you would think.
Update on Jimmy Broadbent, up to 19th, so up 6 places on the opening lap, no doubt a little bit helped by some of the cars going off ahead of him, but nevertheless a very impressive first lap of real world circuit racing for Jimmy. Here is the battle for 4th position then. It is still Tom Smith ahead of Ben Hansey at the moment, 2 drivers that we saw pretty evenly matched throughout the course of last year. The 61 car getting involved there now as well in that battle, and that's Jake Dormer making up a little bit of ground to get involved in that scrap. But these 2, Josh, for 4th and 5th, have pulled away from that group now.
Yes, that's Smith and Hansey then, 2 of the BS Motorsport cars, Ben Short Motorsport cars that are battling, but they're a long way behind Steve Foden. There's one out over the grass on the exit of the hairpin, but gets back on again without losing too much time. Side by side, that's Courtney Milnes and Marcus Bailey, and one of them that lost its bonnet, hasn't it? Or the bonnet's popped up on front of the window screen. That could have been the car that was out wide on the exit of the hairpin. It's going to pull off, and not quite got a number on that yet. It's 47.
It's Stephen Craggs, isn't it?
Okay, so
he's
seen enough to pull off the road. So back to yellow flags at Redgate, side by side there, down the Craner curves in that pack of cars. Let's look a bit further back. There's some more side by side action. That's Mike Comber who's coming back for him. But he was off at the start, and he's worked his way back into the top 20, something like that.
Yeah, try and work out exactly where he is in a moment. There is the number 11 car going through. That's Stephen Robinson, and 34 Ian Cameron in 9th position at the moment. You can see these new timing graphics for this season. We get to scroll through the full field as well, not just the top drivers. So we do get a rundown on everyone's position. Jimmy Broadbent now down a place to 20th in the number 99 car.
I think Mike Comber's 14th. He's not showing up on the timing screens for some reason, but he's there ahead of Paul Monteith, 89. So I think he's 14th after what you'd think basically was last after that Redgate collision at the start. So he's working his way back through the order.
Possibly a transponder issue though, hence not appearing on the time screens. 40 of these Mark 1 Mazda MX-5 1600cc cars out on circuit today. They go through the Fogarty S's, of course, because we're on the Grand Prix loop, and then drop down the hill to the Melbourne hairpin. You've got the two hairpins back to back on this Grand Prix layout, and some good scrapping going on down the order as we pick up on Jimmy Broadbent there, and he is still just he's back ahead now, isn't he, of number 22 Adrian Johnson. So I think he's got back into 20th position. I think it's Rafael Drash, another championship returnee who's been quick in the past, that's just ahead of them. But there's Jimmy Broadbent, number 99, rounding the Goddard hairpin now.
Out of short, there's been a change for the lead because the teammate of Broadbent, Mike Epps, has lost the lead. Ben Short has got through, so new race leader on to what is lap 4 of this 15-minute race.
Yeah, 8.5 minutes left to go in the race, and we should therefore be getting probably 8, maybe 9 laps out of this altogether. 3 gone, and they're side by side once again, and Epps muscles his way back through into the lead there. So back ahead of Ben Short up at McLean's there. Ben Short will not take this lying down.
Was that a BTCC style move there for the lead, it looked like, didn't it, into McLean? We just caught the end of it, but it was pretty robust. You don't that often see that in MX-5 racing. You generally see them working together, not so much these two. Mike Epps and Ben Short, who's looking down the inside into the chicane. Can't quite do it there, though, but there's nothing to separate these two on pace, is there, Ian? It's all about the racecraft over the next few laps.
Absolutely right. So they are dropping down the hill to the Melbourne hairpin. Epps, number 3, in one of the Martin Tollywood cars, I think. Just behind him, Ben Short, then a gap back to Steve Foden in 3rd. He's about 3.5 seconds behind these two leaders now. And then it's Tom Smith in 4th, Ben Hansey 5th, Courtney Milnes in 6th position. Here's the way of things at the moment, and they're side by side coming off the hairpin. They are mirror to mirror. Oh, the hand out of the cockpit there from Ben Short. Which one is going to be last of the late break as well? Short sweeps to the left-hand side of the circuit. He's going to try and get the cut back here on Epps on the exit of the corner. No, he's not. Into Epps' toe. Plenty of gravel upon the circuit there. Probably a legacy of that first corner incident, but it's Epps that continues to lead.
Behind Ian, Steve Foden come into the pit lane. So the driver in 3rd looks like he's out the race, which is a bad start to his championship. Meanwhile, this battle for the lead goes on, and Ben Short kind of looks unimpressed, doesn't he, with some of Mike Epps' driving. There's been a couple of bits of contact between the two of them over the last couple of miles of racing, so it's quite an interesting battle out front. It's fair to say they're way ahead of the rest. It'll be Tom Smith now into 3rd, and Ben Hansey 4th as Short dives up the inside into McLean. That's where he lost the lead a lap ago, and he goes back through. That was a good move in.
Yeah, it was, and Ben Short, who's won lots and lots of Mazda MX-5 races over the last few years, but hasn't been a championship regular, as it were. He's won plenty of races, but he's not done all of the rounds for the championship. One of the sort of great standard setters, really, in MX-5 racing. I suppose down the years, you say someone like Tom Roche was another great MX-5 racer as well, but in a different category. But Ben, one of the very best. Will Blackwell Chambers more recently. Look at the gap back now to 3rd position, though, with Steve Foden having pitted. It is this scrap for 3rd now between Tom Smith and Ben Hansey. They're heading down to the Fogarty S's, and so far, Josh, Ben's not been able to find a way through.
He hasn't, but he's close enough to have a go should he want to, and this could be the battle for the championship, really, with the top two maybe not doing the full season, and it's Smith ahead of Hansey. They weren't really keeping up with Steve Foden, so I'm not sure what the issue for Foden was, but obviously enough for him to pit and come out of the race. So this is the battle for 3rd. Two teammates, they know each other well, and it is that car of Tom Smith ahead of Ben Hansey. Behind them it's Courtney Milnes that was ahead on the last lap. Now it's Declan McDonald. So Declan McDonald has come Now, is he a lap down? Because we did see him off earlier, didn't we? So he must be a lap down. So that car behind those two is not there in reality. And then it's the battle for what is now 5th position, being led by Marcus Bailey ahead of Ian Tomlinson, which would suggest Courtney Milnes has gone missing from this battle.
I think McDonald's actually
lost a few places.
Yeah, it's
right. Okay.
4 laps down. There is Broadbent, and just ahead of him, that's Matthew Pennefather-Neal, who started right at the back, briefly making up a place. He's actually made up about half of the places through the field here, but he lost out again on the exit of the corner to Adrian Johnson. Jimmy Broadbent also involved in that as well. So this is just around about 20th position in the order. And Broadbent there getting a place back, it would seem. He might try and get one back from Pennefather-Neal as well as they turn their way through Hollywood. Yes, he does so. Jimmy Broadbent making up a position there.
And now he's going to go side by side down the Craner curves, which is pretty brave stuff. And I think he's going to back out of it, isn't he, and actually lose both of those positions in the end. So it's a bit easier to be brave in esports than it is in real life. And he has to lose out there to the number 55 as they make their way up towards McLean's.
That's George King in the 55 car this weekend. So here's the scrap, and Broadbent just at the back of that group. King with perhaps a bit more experience, a bit keener to make up positions around the outside maybe at McLean's. They come up the hill, crest the blind, crest there into Coppice. And that's Broadbent still at the back of this group. He's got the black cross on the yellow background of his car. That's the 55 car that's gone very wide there, isn't it?
Yeah, that was George King going grass tracking. Leaders have completed their 6th lap, and will there be 2 laps to go, so it'll be an 8-lap race, and the top 2 separated by just 1700ths of a second as this battle continues in the mid-pack. We said they'd be battling all the way through the field, and that's absolutely been the case. Down towards the Melbourne Loop they come then, and now George King is fighting back after making that mistake at Coppice, down the inside of Jimmy Broadbent, and he goes through on one position. He's trying to get a 2nd place now ahead of Matthew Pennefather-Neal. So George King's lap's been a bit forwards and backwards, hasn't it?
2 3/4 minutes left to go in this race. It's still Ben Short leading from Mike Epps, but we're watching action in the midfield here. Pennefather-Neal has George King around the outside of him at Goddard's. Can he make that work? He runs wide over the curbing on the exit of the corner. I think Adrian Johnson's getting away a little bit, and he's now got ahead of James McCann as well in the number 13 car. So that's Adrian Johnson at the front of this group. And there's Broadbent just ahead of Pennefather-Neal now. So Pennefather-Neal having a bit of a yo-yo kind of a race. Started at the back, he's climbed up and now losing 1 or 2 positions. So into the last couple of minutes now of this race. Ben Short from Mike Epps.
And Mike Comber up to 8th after he's off, and he is the 3rd quickest driver in the race. Here are the leaders though, with a lap to go at the end of this one. It's Ben Short who's holding on ahead of Mike Epps, but it's all about the last lap, and it's so difficult to stay in front of another car with the slipstream that these Mark 1 Mazda MX-5s give off. 1600cc engines, give off about 100 brake horsepower, something like that, and it makes for great racing. And Ben Short is the master of this.
Here are the 2 leaders then, with probably 1 more lap to go at the end of this one. It's a 15-minute race. There's just under a minute and a half left to go, so they'll be going on to their final lap. So it's going to be an 8-lap race here. You've got Ben Short in the white car on the left-hand side of your picture. Mike Epps on the right-hand side. He's been giving some coaching and advice to Jimmy Broadbent during the course of this weekend. They're turning their way through Redgate Corner. Of course, it was at McLean's about 3 laps ago, wasn't it, that Mike Epps took the lead, and then the following lap Ben Short got it back, dropping down through the Craner curves, and you can see how far they are ahead of the rest. 15 seconds, in fact, the gap to Ben Hansey in 3rd position at the moment, which over the course of about 40 minutes of racing so far is quite a margin. Heading out of the old hairpin through Schwantz curve and up to McLean's then, Josh.
Just to mention, Tom Smith has got a 5-second penalty for exceeding track limits, and the leaders are side by side as Mike Epps coming out to the outside line of Ben Short, but Short knew where to place his car. He hits the curb, which flicks the car sideways a bit, but that doesn't bother Short. He's well used to driving these cars sideways, so he's able to keep ahead of Mike Epps through Coppice Corner. Now the big toe-in section down towards the S's, which could be Epps' best chance to find a way through, but I think Short's got a good exit there, so he's pulled a car length or so away, and Epps is not close enough here as they come onto the Grand Prix loop for the last time.
Yep, so into the Fox Yeses is about 2 car lengths behind, isn't he? Mike Epps a bit less than that, maybe gets a good exit out of the Fox Yeses, maybe. 2 hairpins then for him to try and make an attack. We've seen them cross the line side by side at least once before during the course of this race so far. Might they do it again here? They turn their way out of the Melbourne hairpin, so just Goddard's to go. The left-hander, final corner of the lap, and is Mike Epps going to be in a position to attack? It looks like he might be too far behind, actually. He's about 4 or 5 car lengths behind as they go into the hairpin. It's going to be Ben Short, I think, that's going to come through. He's going to come out of Goddard's with a few lengths in hand, and it's going to be Ben Short that wins the first round of the season in the 5 Club Racing MX-5 Cup. He's been given a very close run out there by Mike Epps, who was actually 1.1 seconds behind at the end. I think that's the biggest gap that there was between them throughout the whole race.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ian. Down here with our race winner from that race, which was Ben Short in the 5 Club Racing MX-5 Cup. Ben, that was an interesting race, very close. I think about a second between you right at the end. You must have enjoyed that.
Was it as much as a second? It felt closer than that. The new guy, Mike Epps, he's proper rapid, to be fair, because normally there's a few of us which would try and put a couple of hot laps in, break the toe, and then settle down for a race at the end. But that was a race all the way through. We swapped places a fair few times. That was really cool.
And the guy said in the commentary box, you're used to this race and you've done it for many years now, so kind of the experience came through towards the end. You knew how the car would handle, you knew what to do towards the end as well.
Well, yeah, to a certain extent, definitely. I mean, as the cars warm up, it's less of a problem today, but as the cars warm up, they do change. But 5 Club are on the new Avons this year, so it's a bit of a steep learning curve for everyone because we haven't been able to go testing really. So yesterday was really, really important to us to get as much data on these new tyres. So having Ben Hansey and Tom Smith and all the other quick guys in the team has helped us generate quite a lot of data quite quickly.
And it must be nice for you, of course, after what's been happening in the pandemic. It's good to get back out racing and do it all again.
Well, yeah, as we were all saying as yesterday evening, a couple of metres apart type conversation, but it's really nice just to get out and dust the cars off and go for a good hack.
And of course we're reversing a few for the second race. What number did you put out?
Well, it couldn't have been much worse, but I pulled out number 9. So yeah, reverse grid, it's going to be busy couple of laps, and with the difference in the new tyre and the old tyre, turn 1's going to be quite interesting again.
Look forward to it. Well done, Ben. Congratulations. There you go then, our first winner of the year in the 5 Club Racing MX-5 Cup. It's Ben Short, starts 9th place for race number 2. We look forward to that here at Donington Park a little bit later on.